Tired of hitting your credit limit every month? Want to increase your financial flexibility? Well, let's dive into how to increase your credit limit. So why is having a higher credit limit important? Well, for one, it decreases your utilization rate as long as you keep the same amount of spend, because if you have a credit limit of $10,000 and you increase that to $15,000 and you normally spend $3,000 on your cards, well, now instead of having 30% utilization, now you're at 20% utilization. Now, what are the factors that affect your credit limit? And your starting limit for a credit card is going to be affected by your relationship with the bank, your credit history, your debt to income ratio, your income, and possibly your overall credit from that particular issuer. So the first thing you should do is review your credit reports. So I use Experian, Credit Karma, and then with whatever bank apps I have, I look at all of those credit reports too, because a lot of the time they'll have differing information in them. So with Experian, I usually use Experian to have the most accurate representation of my credit, and a lot of times it's the highest. But then I also use Credit Karma because their user interface on the app is a little bit more intuitive, a little bit more robust. And then with certain banking apps I have, like Chase or American Express, I'll click on my credit score with those as well, since they give you a free credit score. And then I'll browse around to see what the differing factors are with those particular scoring models. I use this information to influence my future decisions. So if you don't have the Experian or the Credit Karma app, I highly suggest that you download those expeditiously. Now, what are the key factors that make up having good credit? Well, it's going to be payment history, credit utilization, length of credit history, types of credit, and new credit. So basically, new credit is like credit seeking behavior. Like if you have too many hard inquiries within a certain amount of time or too many accounts open within a certain amount of time. Now, how do you improve your credit score? Well, you have to be checking your credit score often so that you understand what's going into the scoring that makes your score go up and what's going into the scoring to make your score go down. Usually that's going to be on-time payments. Don't miss credit card payments. Keep your utilization low. This is why we're going to do credit limit increases, because we need to keep your utilization low by also giving you more room to work with. And then avoiding too many open accounts. Now, this is a bit of an oxymoron, kind of a catch-22, because part of my advice is you need to open more lines of credit, but also that's going to negatively influence your credit score. So you got to hope that you have a credit score high enough that it will be able to withstand some of the deductions that you'll get in your credit score by opening a lot of accounts. And what a lot of accounts is going to do, you're going to have $3,000 credit limit here, $5,000 credit limit here, $10,000 credit limit here. And this is all going into one pot, and it's going to be your overall credit limit. Now, your overall credit limit is your credit limit on all of your accounts. So having more accounts with more credit limits and then having the same amount of spend that you normally have is going to decrease your credit utilization while increasing your available credit. This is going to look good with issuers because they're going to see that you're responsible with the credit that you've been given. How to increase your credit limit. This can be done with most issuers through the app. Some issuers you will have to call, but I'm going to go through a bunch of different issuers right now to tell you exactly how to increase your credit limit. We're going to start with Citi. With Citi, you want to request a credit limit increase every 6 months. This is going to be true for most, if not all, of the issuers that I state in this video. Requesting your credit limit increase every 6 months. So on your iPhone, you have this app called a Reminders app. Do that. Today, when you request a credit limit increase with one of your credit cards, or tomorrow, whenever you do it, set a reminder 6 months from now to do the same thing again. I've gotten 3 credit limit increases with Citi within the last month on 3 separate cards. My lowest increase was $4,000, my middle increase was $5,000, and my largest increase was $6,500. And they will increase your credit limit by however much they want to. It's going to be based off your income versus your housing payment. So for me, I put my income and then my housing payment. And one of the things that I do is I put half of my housing payment just because I don't live by myself. So depending on your situation, what you're comfortable with saying, but for me, it gives me a better debt to income ratio, which is likely to influence how much credit limit increase that I'm getting. Moving on to Chase, same thing. Request a credit limit increase every 6 months, so set the reminder on your phone. Now with Chase, I have a bit of a story because I had to call in to request the credit limit increase after my last request was denied because I had frozen my credit reports. I freeze my Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax credit reports, so they had nothing to pull from. Now, it wasn't going to be a hard pull. It was going to be a soft pull. These are all soft pulls, by the way. That Citi credit limit increase request, that is a soft pull. This Chase one is a soft pull. There might be a hard pull in here, but I'll talk about that when I get there. But with Chase, I had to call the number that they sent me via email because they wanted to review my request, but they needed to review my credit report via a soft pull. So I had to call in to do that. Now, on the phone, this is one of the most uncomfortable financial talks that I've ever had because they were looking at my credit reports like a human was looking at it while on the phone with me, asking all sorts of questions. Not a very comfortable situation for me to be in. I have a lot of things going on in my credit report, and some of it can look a little bit sketchy. I have 42 credit cards. It's going to look a little sketchy if I call in asking for a credit limit increase when I already have so much credit out. They're going to wonder, why does this guy need so much credit? And so that phone call didn't actually go the way I wanted it to go because I probably should have known that I shouldn't have asked for that credit limit increase, but I just didn't think about it. And then they stopped my conversation and then they put it to further review. Now, in further review, I'm thinking, all right, this might be like a financial review. I don't want that. So I secured message Chase a few days later asking to rescind my credit limit increase request, but little did I know they had actually already increased my credit limit from 16.8K to 18.8K by the time I sent that message. So I wish I hadn't sent that message because they took like $800 off of that increase and they brought it down to $18,000. I was a little bit more paranoid than I should have been, but the thing that you need to know for Chase is, yes, it will be a soft pull, but you will not want to show a lot of debt. If you do show a lot of debt, you will want to show that you're paying that off, and then you will want it shown, documented that you're paying it off because you want to decrease that utilization rate. Next, Navy Federal, probably my favorite issuer when it comes to credit limit increases. Actually, no, it is my favorite issuer when it comes to credit limit increases because they are the nicest. So Navy Federal, do the request every 6 months. You're noticing a pattern here. Set the reminder on your phone, but when you do your increase, do it either 3x your current credit limit or plus 8,000 of your credit limit. Now, which one should you do? If your credit limit right now is $500 with a Navy Federal credit card, do 3x. So request $1,500 because Navy Federal is going to actually ask you what you want your credit limit to be. They're not going to increase it by 8K. So they're not going to go from $500 credit limit to an 8.5K credit limit. You're going to do 3x. So the simple way that I like to think about it is do 3x your credit limit if 3x your credit limit is going to be less than plus 8,000 of your credit limit. And then do plus 8K if 8K is going to be less than 3x your credit limit. So if you have a $500 credit limit, you can only get $1,500, 3x. If you have $1,500 credit limit, you can only get $4,500. That's 3x. Now, if you have $4,500 credit limit, now you start doing plus 8K because 4.5K plus 8K, that's going to be 12.5K, which is less than whatever 3x is going to be. 3x would be 13.5K. And now, if you do this every 6 months, within 2 years, you could have a pretty sizable credit limit. Now, this is already a good thing because Navy Federal famously gives you a pretty high credit limit when you get a new card with them. Anyway, next we have Bank of America. Set a reminder every 6 months, request your credit limit increase. It's going to be through the app or through the website. I personally never gotten more than a $5,000 credit limit increase with Bank of America, or 3x if 3x is less than what 5K would be. So either 3x your credit limit if 3x is going to be less than 5K, or add 5K to it. That's my recommendation. There might be data points that say you can do 10K. My recommendation, having just done this a couple of times, I have a number of different Bank of America credit cards. I have 2 business Bank of America credit cards and then 3 personal credit cards. Having done this, I would say 5K at a time would be what I've learned. Next, we have Wells Fargo. Now, Wells Fargo is a little different. Yes, set a reminder for every 6 months to try to increase your credit limit, but also remember, you have to call the number on the back of your card in order to request a credit limit increase. So with my one Wells Fargo credit card, I started off with a 7.5K credit limit. They did an automatic increase to 10K when I had a balance transfer on it after a couple of months. And then when I manually requested a credit limit increase not too long ago, they increased it by 5K. So I'm going to go with 5K is probably the sweet spot with Wells Fargo. And Wells Fargo has excellent credit cards, especially for balance transfers. So I highly recommend that you get at least one Wells Fargo credit card. Next, we have US Bank. So there are no clear-cut rules on whether it's a hard or a soft inquiry to request a credit limit increase with US Bank. However, I will say this. I actually like US Bank. Now that I'm a US Bank customer, I like US Bank. I used to not like US Bank because they wouldn't let me become a customer. But now I like them. I have 3 US Bank credit cards. I have a US Bank Altitude Reserve, a US Bank Business Triple Cash, and I have another US Bank Altitude Reserve, which I got earlier this year. I noticed when I applied for that second US Bank Altitude Reserve, I don't see an inquiry on any of my credit reports. I've checked them all. I've checked bank credit reports. I've checked Experian credit reports. I've checked TransUnion, Equifax. I don't see a single inquiry for US Bank. So that tells me if you are a customer with US Bank, they are not going to do a hard pull on your credit report. Now, did I risk it for a credit limit increase? I did not. And the reason is because I'm going to do all of my credit limit increases at the same time. I already did one request this month for US Bank and it did not go through very well. And one of the reasons is because before I did that credit limit increase request, I froze all of my credit reports because I didn't want a hard pull. But now that I know, or now that I think they won't do a hard pull on my credit report, the next time I do it, I won't freeze those credit reports. I just don't see it being worth it right now to unfreeze my credit reports and then request another credit limit increase request when I don't really need it, because I have decent limits on those cards. But now it's probably just better for me to just wait this one out, wait until April when I do my request with all my other cards. But I am going to go out on a limb and say it is likely to be a soft pull for me. Now, this is a your mileage may vary situation. But with US Bank, it's looking like if you are a customer and a good customer, it's going to be a soft pull. But I cannot confirm that. Data points may suggest otherwise. Data points may be in my favor, but me having 3 US Bank credit cards, that is my experience. And your credit limit increase request can be done through the app. Now, American Express. So I would say if the system allows you, like through the app, if it allows you to request a credit limit increase request, I say go for it because it's a soft pull. However, stop right there. However, when you request credit limit increases, that is still tracked by the issuer. So if you request it too early and then let's say you give them a call and try to plead your case or some reason and they look at your credit report and they go, well, actually you did just request a credit limit increase a month ago. Why do you need another one? Now you got something else to deal with. So if you don't want that headache, just do it every 6 months like with all of your other credit cards. I would personally wait the 6-month time frame. Some people do 91 days. Again, this might be up to you and this might be your mileage may vary. And once you're in good with American Express, it will be a soft pull. Now for me, my last credit limit increase request that is still actually pending, they requested income statements from me. So I actually obliged, which I typically don't do. I obliged because I was like, I don't have anything to hide. This isn't a situation you want to put yourself in. If they don't want to give you a credit limit increase request, then they don't want to give you a credit limit increase request. Then move on or wait a year or wait 6 months and see. But I typically don't recommend that you send in your income statements, but I did because now I kind of want to see what happens. So they have until October 18th to get back to me. Again, don't recommend, but you do as you will. Discover. So the app and the website both give the option to request a credit limit increase. They increase your credit limit based on your income and your monthly housing payment. Like I said with one of the other issuers, for me, I use half of my monthly housing payment because it's not just me that lives here. They also use your relationship with them and your credit score and your balances to help determine how much of a credit limit increase you do. Now, when you get a Discover It credit card, it comes with like a 0% APR period. If you run up the numbers on your starting credit limit and you start paying that off, they'll probably give you an automatic credit limit increase, or you can just request one within 6 months of having the card. Or if you have a balance transfer and you're paying that down, they might automatically increase it, but you can also request one even when you still have a balance. That's a nice thing about balance transfers. They are actually a little bit of a secret tool to be able to request credit limit increases because the issuer sees you have a lot of your credit limit being used and you're paying on time So you might need more credit limit so we can get a better customer. So they're going to increase your credit limit. And again, like all these other cards, request it every 6 months. Just have the reminder on your phone. Now, can you request it more frequently? You can. But remember, if you ever have to call in for a credit limit increase request, they can see that you have credit seeking behavior, and that could be a reason that they decide to deny you. Next, we're going to talk Capital One, which is a company that I've had a struggle with getting credit limit increases from in the past. But this year, everything changed. And I know why it changed. It changed because, so I typically don't use my Capital One Quicksilver card. I happened to use it this past summer for like $100 payment, but that balance showed up on that statement in July, and I requested a credit limit increase in August. So it looked like I was actually using the credit card. What do you know? Credit card issuers like it when you use their credit card. So I requested a credit limit increase on the app, and they gave me an extra $5,000. So my credit limit for 6 years with Capital One has been $15,000. And I finally got them to increase my credit limit, and they increased it by $5,000 to $20,000. So request your credit limit increase every 6 months. Make sure you have a balance that was reported within the past few months. Make sure it shows that you paid it off, and you should be good to go with Capital One. Now, as far as getting credit limit increases of less than 5K, I don't have much experience with that, but I'm sure someone in the comments will give their data point for that. Now, last but not least, with credit limit increases, let's talk about balance transfers. So balance transfers allow you to transfer a balance from one credit card to another credit card, while you're usually going to get a 0% period to not pay any interest. You will, though, have to pay a fee. Now, some offers, they don't have you pay a fee, but that fee is usually going to be 5% or 3% or 4.9%. Now, how does a credit limit increase factor into a balance transfer? Well, if you have a $10,000 credit limit and we increase that to $15,000, now you have around $14,000 to be able to do a balance transfer to this card with. Could that be beneficial for you? It could be. Could it be super detrimental for you if you're not very disciplined credit-wise? Yes. So I wouldn't recommend that you do this if you're not disciplined, but I know that everyone watching my channel, you're all disciplined. You all have some self-control, so I'm not worried about you guys. But having a credit limit increase could be a really good thing for balance transfers, because now it increases the amount that you could possibly balance transfer. And there are some really good use cases to do balance transfers. I'll go back to that U.S. Bank credit card that I have. I have a credit card called the U.S. Bank Triple Cash. The U.S. Bank Triple Cash has an $8,000 credit limit on it. Mine does. Now, I will have that increased within the next year or next coming months, but business credit cards do not show up on your credit report. So if I wanted to carry a balance, I should probably carry it on that U.S. Bank Triple Cash business credit card. Now, I can only carry on that card around $7,000 because my limit is $8,000. But once that limit is increased to, let's say, $13,000, now I can carry around $12,000 on that card, and creditors don't know about it. It's also good outside of that business credit card context if you want to be able to do something super nifty with your credit. Let's say you have a debt consolidation loan. Let's say you're paying like 7.9% for that debt consolidation loan, and you know that if you made a sizable principal payment, you can lower not only that balance, but it will prevent you from paying interest for, let's say, the next year on that amount of money, which the fee for a balance transfer could easily be worth it. So let's say you have $10,000 in a debt consolidation loan, and you have this credit card over here that has a $5,000 credit limit. You know you could put $4,500 towards this principal balance, and it'll save you on some interest. All you got to do is pay the 3% fee for this balance transfer offer. So you put that $4,500 toward the principal or toward that payment, and now you pay that off here because now you don't have to pay interest on that balance. It's actually a pretty nifty way to avoid paying interest, but you need some type of capital. You need some type of credit limit to be able to do something like this. Does that make sense? You can also use it in terms of a car payment. Let's say you have 2 years left on the car payment, but you know you don't want to pay that interest, and you know you could probably pay that car off within the next 12, maybe 14 months. Well, you got $8,000 left on your car loan. You have this $10,000 credit limit on the card. You know that you have an offer for 12 months, do a balance transfer, and you could probably pay your car off within that amount of time. So you get a balance transfer check, you apply it toward that car, you paid the car off, now you're just paying yourself back for the money that you used to pay that car off, and you avoided interest, and you didn't have a fee, or you might have a fee, but that fee is going to be less than the interest that you would have paid on that car loan. Listen, I don't make the rules. I just figure out ways to hack the system and figure out ways to help you do so too. So let's start getting these apps on your phone, the Experian app, the Credit Karma app, and then all the bank apps that you need. And let's make a plan based on your credit report, a plan to get more credit limits or more credit cards, because we're going to increase your credit limits, and your overall credit limits are going to help influence your utilization rate. You want to keep that nice and low, and it's also going to allow you to do some pretty cool things. I've shown you all the issuers. There may have been like 1 or 2 issuers that I didn't talk about. I think Barclays I didn't talk about. With Barclays, don't worry about requesting a credit limit increase because it's going to be a hard pull unless you want that hard pull. USAA, it's a soft pull. I just have never gotten my credit limit increase with USAA. They might do it this time or next time that I request, because I'm going to do the method where I show a balance on it, and we'll see how that works out. Like, comment, subscribe. I've been Noble Credit. Peace.